All right. Welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another live stream. This is the beginning of what am I going to call this? What should I call this? This is a new era. This is the beginning of a brand new era, guys. I got some stuff. I got some stuff for you. Hold on, actually, let me see. Are we live? Are we not? Hold on, let me try to fix this right here. What are we looking on? Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode. Welcome back to another live stream. Today I am going to talk about the breakdown of the long-term bullish structure for Bitcoin and the entire cryptocurrency market. That is what I'm going to talk about today. We'll try to talk about some targets. We'll try to talk about what the next weeks and months are more likely to look like. If you guys have projects that you are interested in, put them in the chat. Put them in the chat. So, welcome back to the channel. I do want to apologize. This is a late live stream. I was planning on doing this earlier today, but things come up. But it's perfectly fine. Here we are. We live. This is live right now. This is not pre-recorded. I will see your chat if you comment something. So, I want you guys to participate. Once again, welcome back. We got some stuff to talk about today. We are going to focus on, the long-term structure. We are going to focus on we're going to focus on both Bitcoin and the altcoin market. We'll also talk about some stocks. So anyways, guys, if this is your first time right here, I am going to ask you to hit that subscribe button. And I'm also going to ask you to hit the like button. The algorithm is basically, it's everything when it comes to YouTube. So, if you want to help me, if you want to see me grow, if you want to see more subscribers, if you want to see more people watch my content, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and let's get into it. So, this is November, I think. Sometimes in November, maybe, yes, definitely November. Sometimes in November, Bitcoin lost its 50 weekly moving average. And at the time, my game plan was always that if the price of Bitcoin goes below the 50 weekly moving average, in my opinion, that is the end of the bull market. And that is the beginning of a long-term bear market. So I did a live stream. Now, it's not up right now because I deleted every single one of my videos. Like, this is the very first video on this channel. Like, this is the first video since I deleted every single one of them. But right after losing the 50 weekly moving average, I said the bull market is over. And this is the beginning of a bear market. And I believe at the time, the price of Bitcoin was around $97,000, $96,000. So you fast forward to today, we have a Bitcoin that is at $85,000. We have a Bitcoin that is having a hard time getting above $90,000. We have a Bitcoin that is 6 weeks, all right, 6 weeks below its 50 weekly moving average. This is happening for the very first time since late 2023. All right. For the very first time since late 2023, we have a Bitcoin that is trading below its 50 weekly moving average. Every other single pullback, every other It doesn't matter if it was a 2 week pullback, if it was, a lengthy pullback for months, the price remained above the 50 weekly. So right now, not only have we lost the 50 weekly moving average, Bitcoin has recently broke its long-term bullish structure. So what exactly am I talking about? What is this long-term bullish structure? Chat, if you go to the Bitcoin weekly time frame, right, and you put a downtrend, and you put a trend line from the lows of September of 2023, and you connect it to the lows of September of 2024, and you connect it to the lows of April of 2025, it gives you a beautiful trend that has been acting as a support, all right, throughout this entire bull market. For the very first time, Bitcoin had a pullback, and instead of bouncing off the support, we lost the support. And right now, we have a Bitcoin that is trending below, or that is trading below this major weekly support. And this is a major concern. If you're bullish on Bitcoin, this is a major concern. If you see the price of Bitcoin going back to $126,000, to $150,000, to $200,000. Heck, look, anything above $100,000, it is a major concern if the price of Bitcoin is below this trend line. So, what does that mean for the price of Bitcoin? What was used to be a support? All right, what is that going to do to the price now? Chat, in technical analysis, when a support is broken, it becomes a resistance. So I can tell you guys right now, this entire trend line right here, all right, this that's been acting as a support throughout the entire bull market is now a major resistance for Bitcoin. So what that means is that every time price goes up, we are more likely to get rejected. And this is why, when Bitcoin was recently, all right, trying to get back above $90,000, we got rejected. All right, we got rejected right here, guys. Let me get rid of this. We got rejected right here the first time. We came back again. We got rejected. The second time. We came back again the third time. We also got rejected. And right now, you have a Bitcoin that is at $85,000 and could potentially go down into, the low $70,000 range. And we are going to talk about that. We are going to talk about a Bitcoin that is more likely to trade in the low $70,000 range. But I want to go back to the weekly because this is what I want to focus on. The Bitcoin long-term bullish structure is finally, or has finally broken. And this is not what a bullish Bitcoin looks like. At least not throughout this bull market. Every major pullback throughout this bull market, guys, has bounced off this support right here. We had a big bounce right here in September of 2024. We had another massive bounce right here in April of 2025. But finally, we broke the trend. And this is the beginning of a long-term downtrend, if you ask me. So, my outlook on Bitcoin is a very bearish one. All right, my outlook on Bitcoin for the next 6 to 12 months is not, it's not a bullish outlook. I see the price of Bitcoin. All right, I see the price of Bitcoin over the next 6 months doing something that looks like this. All right, it's not going to be a straight line down, but I see the price of Bitcoin over the next 6 to 12 months doing something that looks like this. We are going to see lower highs and lower lows. We are going to see another lower high, and then we are going to see another lower low until this is over. All right, basically, guys, we are going to see what we saw back in 2022. What I want you guys to get ready for is Bitcoin weekly and monthly price action that looks exactly like this. Right? We are going to see a Bitcoin weekly price action that looks exactly like this, unless, all right, unless we break above, and we will talk about, what that could potentially look like. But I think you want to get ready for something that looks like that, and you also want to get ready for something that looks like this right here, chat. Right? I am someone who wants to look at this market realistically. I don't have any agenda. All right. I do not have any agenda. I don't care if the price of Bitcoin is going up. I don't care if the price of Bitcoin is going down. What I care about is the trend of the market. All right. In what direction, in what trend is Bitcoin trading in? Do we have a Bitcoin that is trending up? Do we have a Bitcoin that is trending down? Or do we have a Bitcoin that is going sideways? We're well established, support and resistance. All right. What do we have? And I can tell you right now, guys, we have a Bitcoin on the higher time frame. This is very important. When I say the higher time frame, you have to make sure. All right. I want to make sure. Excuse me. I can't stress this enough. When I say the higher time frame, I'm talking about the overall direction of this market. I'm not talking about Bitcoin going from 85,000 to 90,000. Like, who cares? Bitcoin may go from 85,000 to 90,000 in the next 3 hours or in the next 4 hours. But what I'm talking about when I say the overall direction of this market is, regardless of what the price of Bitcoin is going to do in the short term, we have a Bitcoin that is trending down. And that's because the trend is down. It won't be a straight line from $126,000 to 40,000 or 50,000, but the trend, all right, the trend is down. It is lower highs and lower lows, right? I think this is what we are more likely to experience over the next 6 to 12 months. And in terms of targets, we can talk about targets. So I have $74,000 as my first major target. All right. And then I have $50,000 as my second major target. And then right after that, guys, I have around $38,000. Those are the only three targets that I'm just going to stay with. I have $74,000. I have $50,000, and then I have $38,000. These are the targets that I am going to keep my eyes on over the next 6 to 12 months because the trend is down. And I can tell you right now, I am not going to be bullish on Bitcoin long-term outlook until this weekly time frame shows me that we have a Bitcoin that is reversing or wants to reverse to, the upside. So basically, if the next 6-12 months looks like this, all right, as long as the next 6-12 months looks like this, I remain bearish on BTC until I see something that looks like this. There we go, guys. If I see something that looks like this, I am going to start looking at a Bitcoin that is about to jump into a brand new bull market. Just like back in 2023 when Bitcoin was right here, guys, characteristically, just like when Bitcoin was back here, all right, the characters of Bitcoin, the way Bitcoin was, trending, what Bitcoin was doing, I became very bullish because we started to see a bullish divergency. We started to see Bitcoin that was breaking out of this character right here, guys. This downtrend was finally starting to break. And when you put a trend line right here, if you go from the all-time highs, you connect it to this high right here, you continue to work your way down, you can clearly see that at some point around $18,000, we had a breakout. And then we had a drop right here. This was not bad. This was great right here, guys. And this was the entire accumulation below $25,000. I don't know how many of you guys were right here. I don't know how many of you guys were consuming my content. But below $25,000, I was extremely bullish on Bitcoin. And I was talking about building a long-term position. And that's exactly what we ended up doing. And then, shortly after that, Bitcoin finally gave us, bullish confirmation above $25,000. And, the rest is history. So I'm basically going to wait for exactly the same thing. So my expectation is that, hey, we are going to get, and this is, I'm going to get into this. Just give me a second, guys. Basically, right now, we are bearish. If you don't think we are bearish, I don't know what to tell you. All right. Based on the way I do things, this is not a market. This is not a Bitcoin that I want to be bullish on. You are not going to see me talk about Bitcoin being bullish on the long term. All right. Like on the higher time frame over the next 6 or 12 months. You are not. And chat, if you see me say Bitcoin is bullish long term over the next 6-12 months, what I want you to do is I want you to unsubscribe, and I don't want you to watch any of my videos again. Now, there is going to be times when I'm going to be bullish on BTC in the short term. All right, short term because maybe I'm going to be anticipating a day cap bounce. But other than that, I'm extremely bearish on this market, and I am going to be, look, every single one of my updates, every single one of my price analysis is going to be bearish. But when I see moments where Bitcoin is potentially going to go bullish in the short term, maybe for a couple of days or maybe for a couple of weeks, I am going to be bullish within that period. But overall, I don't think you are going to see me be bullish on Bitcoin for about 2 to 3 months. Absolutely not, guys. All right. Absolutely not. Now, let me talk about periods when Bitcoin is going to be bullish. Remember, this is not going to be a Bitcoin that goes down in a straight line. All right. Nothing goes down in a straight line. There's going to be times when, those that are selling Bitcoin are exhausted. All right. Seller exhaustion is a real thing. There is going to be moments when the price of Bitcoin is extremely oversold. And maybe right now, BTC is extremely oversold. Maybe we go a little lower and then we get, a relief rally. All right. The name of the rally is a relief rally, guys. Like that. It's exactly that. So I'm expecting, all right, over the next 6, 12 months to see something that looks like this. All right. Whether it's right here or down here, I'm expecting a move that looks like this. All right. Give us a higher low. And then I'm expecting the higher low to come to an end. All right, I'm expecting the price to go down again. And then I'm expecting another rally, guys. And then I'm expecting another pullback. At least I think we are going to see 2 higher lows. All right, on the weekly time frame. So these 2 higher lows right here are going to give us a beautiful trend line. All right, they are going to give us, maybe something that looks like this or maybe something that looks like this. All right, I don't know how this is going to look like, but just imagine something that looks like this, guys. Now, within these rally right here, now you are not going to capture the rallies on the weekly. You're going to have to go down maybe on the 1 hour, maybe on the 4 hour time frame. That is where the setup is going to take place. So within this move right here, and this one is going to be very difficult to actually, recognize it unless you're spending a lot of time on the lower time. So within this move right here, there is going to be periods where, I go down to the 1 hour and then I see something that looks like this. All right. I might get something that looks like this where price does this and then we do this. We break out a character and then we go up. All right. This is going to be where, maybe I'm bullish right here. And then I set my target, maybe to somewhere around here. Trading wise, I'm looking for longs right here. I'm looking for profits up here. And I'm putting a stop loss just right below the previous lows. This is going to be extremely difficult, guys. But on the weekly, I know that once the price of Bitcoin approaches, either the 21 weekly moving average or the 50 weekly moving average, that is potentially going to be the end of the rally. So I'll give you guys an example. If you go back to the last bear market, all right, this is the last bear market right here, guys. Here we got a bear market rally right here, guys, or a relief rally. All right, price goes from I think it's like $32,000, which is right here, up to around 48,000. All right, we briefly broke above, both the 21 and the 50, but guess what? That was the end of the rally, and this was a lower high, and then we went from $48 all the way down to $18,000, and then we had another rally right here, guys. Price goes from $18,000 up to 25,000. All right, got very close to the 21 weekly moving average. That was the end of the rally, and then we go from 25,000 down to around $17,000. Another weekly rally right here, very close to the 21 weekly moving average. That was the end of the relief rally, and then we go from 21,000 down to $15,000. Okay, so what I'm saying to you basically is that within this long-term downtrend or this long-term bear market, we are going to have moments like this. We are going to have big bear market rallies where the price of Bitcoin may go from $74,000 back to $85,000, or may go from $65,000 up to $80,000, or may go from $55,000 up to $70,000. And once we get closer to the 21 weekly moving average, that is potentially going to be the end of the rally. Put in a lower high, and then price goes down again. So hopefully this is helpful. I want to make sure that what I'm saying to you guys makes sense. And I want to make sure that I'm helpful. I want to make sure this is helping. If you go back to the 2018 bear market, this one actually even more beautiful in terms of, price coming to the 21 weekly. So if I get rid of the green line, the 21 weekly is the blue line right here. Here we had a retest to the 21 weekly, got rejected. Here we had a retest to the 21 weekly, got rejected. Here we had a retest to the 21 weekly, got rejected. Here we had another retest to the 21 weekly, still got rejected. So now one time, now two times, now three, 4 different times, price rose to the 21 weekly moving average, got rejected. All right. Scary times. Scary, scary, scary times ahead. And I will tell you right now, looking at the setup, looking at BTC right now, this is not looking good. So if Bitcoin was to get a retest to the 21 weekly moving average right now, we will have a Bitcoin that goes back to $101,000, because that is where our 21 weekly moving average is. Do we go to $101,000? Maybe. All right. Do I think we go to $101,000 anytime soon? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think we on this weekly time frame, we might go a little lower before we get this weekly bounce. So that will be my update on BTC. I don't think there's really anything else for me to add on to this. And if I think of something later on, I will, come back to the Bitcoin chart and, give you guys whatever I forgot to mention. Other than that, I want to move into, the altcoin market. This is a market that I really, really want to talk about. All right. If you guys are watching my content, not for the very first time, you know exactly what I've done these last couple of weeks, or maybe should I say months. My theme has been stay away from altcoins. Don't buy altcoins. The risk is not worth it. None of these altcoins are bullish on the higher time frame. Whatever they do in the short term is meaningless, even if they go up 50%. All right. And you want to try to avoid FOMO. All right. FOMO is going to look, you have to put yourself in a place where you resist the urge to jump into this market. All right. Honestly, guys. All right. Look, I am speaking from experience because I've seen this movie play out over and over and over again. And I want to take my time. I want to analyze the altcoin market. I want to show you guys exactly what I'm seeing across the altcoins. This is not a market that's bullish. And speaking of bullish, guys, I want to repost something to you. Probably have already seen this. Coinbase. Coinbase is getting into something else other than crypto. All right. Coinbase is getting into prediction markets. Coinbase is getting into the stock market. All right. Something is not adding up to me. All right. Coinbase is realizing, hey, the cryptocurrency market is cooked. The cryptocurrency market is cooked. All right. Those trading fees, if the market is in a bear market, profits are going to drop, guys. Like, profits are going to go from, what was Coinbase profits in the last quarter? I don't want to look that up, but these profits are going to drop about 60, 80% because nobody's going to be trading. So how can we raise profits? How can we make sure, the drop off is not dramatic? Oh, let's get into the stock market. Oh, let's get into, prediction markets. Oh, let's get into something else. So our profits, throughout the bear market, doesn't drop about 50, 60, 80%. Because in a bear market, guys, nobody's trading. It's only a handful of traders. The smartest traders in a bear market, they're not trading. No, they spending the entire bear market doing research, spending the entire bear market, accumulating Bitcoin, a dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin, not trading altcoins because there is no liquidity. There's no money to make from the altcoin market. So, Brian Armstrong is looking at this cryptocurrency market that's been terrible the entire 2025. He's looking at his profits and he's like, wait a minute. If this goes on for the next 2-3 years, which is, you've been around this market, bear markets are brutal for altcoins. We're not talking about 12 months. 12 months is for BTC. When it comes to altcoins, you're looking at 3 years of a bear market. So Brian Armstrong is looking at these altcoins. Oh, let's get into the stock market, baby. Let's get into the prediction markets. So to me, look, I don't care what Coinbase is trying to become. The all everything app. I wouldn't trade stocks on Coinbase. Personally, I wouldn't do it. First of all, if he's going, look, I don't even want to talk about this. It's a different conversation, but I wanted to share this with you guys, just in case you haven't seen it. But anyways, let's get back to this market because I really, really want to show you that this is not a good looking market. This is a market that is not bullish. All right. This is others. Others is basically excluding, everything in the top 10. So when we say the top 10, we are talking about Bitcoin. We are talking about Ethereum. We are talking about major stable coins, those with bigger market caps. We are talking about what's in the top 10. Let's see. Coin market cap. So the top 10, you're basically looking at from BTC up to Cardano. All right. Cardano currently with a market cap of $12.5 billion. So others is from Bitcoin Cash to whatever is the latest meme coin. If you look at others and you look at this weekly setup right here, chat, the long-term bullish structure has been broken. All right? The long-term bullish structure has been broken. This long-term bullish structure that I'm talking about, it goes back to June of 2023. Yo, this is not something from yesterday. This is not something from, a couple months ago. We are talking about June of 2023. I don't know how many of you guys were around in June of 2023, but we were flipping bullish. Like, we had just came out of a brutal bear market, and we were looking at Bitcoin. Bitcoin was breaking above $25,000. Bitcoin was breaking above, the 21 weekly moving average. Bitcoin was breaking above the 10 monthly moving average. Bitcoin monthly, weekly MACD, they were, going into the bull market territory. RSI was breaking above the 50 line on the monthly. Like, we were turning extremely bullish on the cryptocurrency market. So when I say that we have a long-term bullish structure that's breaking, I'm not referring to anything from yesterday. No, I'm talking about something that has been a place where when we had a long-term pullback, the market bounced off of it. So going back to 2023, all right, we had a big pullback right here, or should I say a major pullback in early 2024, where the price, or maybe should I not say the price, the market cap, goes from $365 billion, all right, down to $150 billion. So when you take this low right here and you connect it to this one, it gives us a beautiful trend line. And then in December of 2024, we had another major pullback, all right, from around $450 billion down to $190 billion, bounce off the trend line. And then look at this right here, chat. All right, the trend line has been broken. For the very first time since June of 2023, the long-term bullish structure or trend line has finally been broken. We didn't break it in September of 2024. In fact, that was when we established the trend line. We didn't break it in April of 2025, during the tariffs. A brutal pullback, April 2025. We didn't break it in June of 2025 during that retest of the breakout. But finally, the trend line has been broken. So, what do you think is more likely? All right, what do you think is more likely to play out, over the next many months? Do you think this is a market that is more likely to regain this trend line right here? Or are we looking at a market where even if there is some sort of a pullback, this trend line is going to act as a resistance? Remember what we talked about, chat? All right. Once a support is broken, it becomes a resistance. So others, and when I say others, I'm basically talking about, the rest of the altcoin market. The long-term trend has been broken. And right now, we are entering a long-term downtrend. All right. I'll give you guys an example. This is basically going back to right here, chat, February of 2022. The long-term trend line was finally broken, after an incredible bull market. If you go like that. And from April of 2022 until May of 2023, chat. Right? Think about this. April 2022 until May of 2023, or should I say June of 2023. All right. The altcoin market outside of the top 10 was in a bear market. So my prediction is exactly same as this. I see an altcoin market that is entering a long-term bear market. And I don't see any reason to be bullish on this market until, this changes right here. And I'm going to be very honest with you. This is going to take a very, very long time. There is going to be rallies. There's going to be times when, price goes up. But I think we are about to see a brutal drop. I think right here, guys, we about to see some crazy price action to the downside over the next couple months. My prediction is that this is the beginning of an acceleration. Like, I think we're about to see a drop. I mean, to be very honest with you guys, I think we're about to see a drop all the way down to around, $100 billion. We are currently at 185 billion. I think we're about to wipe out, $85 billion in a very look in the early stage of 2026. Like early 2026, I think $85 billion are going to be wiped out of the, altcoin market. You may not think this is not going to impact your altcoin, but Chad, we are talking about $85 billion. So if we go to total market cap, look, I'm just going to say this. Everything outside of the top 100 is going to zero. Basically going to zero, guys. But if you start from, Chainlink, Bitcoin Cash. Chainlink has got an $8.2 billion. Chainlink is more likely about to lose $3 billion easily. $3 billion, that is a lot of loss. Monero, probably about to lose $3 billion. All right. Hyperliquid with a $7.5 billion, probably about to lose, $4 billion. All right. Stellar, XLM, another one, probably about to lose $4 billion. So, we're talking about these altcoins right here losing $4 billion. And then once you start getting into those $2 billion market cap altcoins, Uniswap probably losing $2 billion. All right, Polkadot, $2.8 billion, probably losing $2 billion. So we are talking about Polkadot going below $100 million market cap. I mean, this is unbelievable, guys. So, look, this market is cooked. This is not, you don't want to see this. There isn't too many of us talking about this, but I promise you, you do not want to see this. Now, let's put a trend line right here. Maybe we are about to get a rally at some point soon, but I don't think we'll get a rally right now. If I put a trend line right here, guys, I would entertain, all right, getting back into the altcoin market until we are on the other side of this yellow line. So basically, you might get something like this over these next, 12 months. You may get something like this. There you go. Maybe like this. Personally, I wouldn't entertain altcoins until we are on the other side of this yellow line. So imagine this right here. To give you guys an example, put a trend line right here, guys. Look. If this was the last bear market, you would have stayed away from the altcoin market until sometimes May 2023. This was the safer time. When I say safe, it doesn't sound good, but this was the safer time to jump into altcoins. If I'm looking at this market right now, look, I'm going on vacation for a very long time, and I'm coming back. Once price breaks on this other side of this yellow, this is going to be the accumulation time. Right here, stay away from the market, guys. Now, there is going to be 1, 2, maybe 3 altcoins that do very well, that, maybe bottom early on. But, 1 or 2, we're talking about, 20, 30 million altcoins. So 1 or 2 altcoins, go on vacation, guys. Go on a long vacation. And don't come back until, well, maybe don't go on vacation. Continue to consume my content. So I keep you updated on, what's actually going on. Once again, there isn't too many of us talking about this. There's only a few of us that are talking about this. But I am telling you right now, chat. Be careful out there. If anyone is telling you to dollar cost average into these altcoins, they don't like you. If anyone is telling you to dollar cost average on any of these altcoins, if someone is telling you dollar cost average, they don't like you. Price may go up, Price may go up in the short term, but I promise you it's a day cap bounce. I promise you, you want to take profits if you are in a position as fast as you can, because it's going to be brutal. All right, let's jump into individual altcoins. Once again, if you have some stuff that you would like me to look at, put them in the chat, guys. All right, put them in the chat. I'm going to try to live stream as much as I can, but it's going to be very hard because it's about to get extremely, extremely lonely in this market. Like, I'm telling you, I was here in 2022. I was live streaming. There was nobody here. All right, and this was a tough time to be in this market. So anyways, let's jump into individual projects, because here I want to be more specific. All right, I'm going to start with Solana, because Solana probably in this bull market was the king of altcoins. So where is my Solana? Solana is somewhere around, hold on, am I not? Oh, right here, okay? Guys. Ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the beginning of a $25 to a $50 Solana. Nobody wants to talk about this, but I am going to do it. This is not a good looking chart right here. If you look at Solana on the monthly, you quickly realize this is all we have, this $90 to $110 range. And once that is lost, you don't have any other target until $25 to $50. And I'm going to be very honest with you. Don't try to be a hero in the $90 range. Yeah, we might get a bounce. Maybe Solana comes to $90 and then we get a bounce. We might get something like this on the weekly. Not on the monthly. There won't be a bounce on the monthly, I promise you. The monthly is going to be a straight line down. And if you get something on the monthly, probably just 1 month and, price goes back down again. But on the weekly, you might get something like this. And I will share with you guys targets. And then price goes down like that. I think on the weekly, you might get something like that. So in terms of targets, like if I'm looking at Solana right here, guys, what am I looking at? All right. Am I looking at a Solana that goes back to $200? I don't think so. But I can see Solana maybe like back to $140, maybe back to $150. I was thinking about going back to like $185, but yeah, I think this is way, way too far. I don't think Solana goes back into, $185 range. Maybe we do, but I just don't see that. I see price, going back to like retest, 2150 weekly moving average. Right now, the 21 is around 163. Yo, chat, 163 is now 180. All right. And we might not even get the bounce right now. We might get the bounce, once the price is maybe somewhere around $80 instead of 90. And the bounce may bring us back to around, maybe $120, maybe $130. Look, this is very hard to predict. But basically, guys, I see something that looks like this. Look, I see something that looks like this. When the price went from, $78, back to $143. And then after that, I see a drop that looks exactly like this. So depending on, when we get this bear market rally on the weekly, is it right now? Is it sometimes later when the price is in the $80 or in the $70 range? Like, I really don't know, right? We're going to get a bounce. And then after that, we're going to get a big drop, down to this 25, 49. Because I just don't see how, we don't come into this range right here. Like if you look for clear levels on the monthly, you got $50. All right. Previous resistance is going to become a support. And then after that, you basically have right here, guys. You got right down here in the $20 range. So this is not looking good. All right, absolutely not. Let's talk about Ethereum. All right, Ethereum is right here on the monthly. Once again, all right, what do we have? Now, when you go to this monthly right here, your target is, $1,300. Our target is $1,000 and $300. $1,300. That is our target on the monthly. We don't really have support. All right, we got something right here around $2,100 because I'm not expecting, price straight down to $1,300, but this is on the lower time frame. All right, if we do get some bounce around $2,100, that is only on the daily. On the monthly, I think we are going to see an entire monthly candle, or maybe not one, maybe two or three. All right, I don't think we stop until $1,300, guys. And also $1,300, to me, it looks very weak. Like, I think you start looking at this entire range from if not $800, from $900 up to $1,300. I think this is where you start looking at. Now, this is going to take time because we're looking at a monthly time frame. So I'm not expecting, Ethereum to trade around, $9 to $1,300 in, the next couple of weeks. No, this is going to take a very long time. And I'm looking at the next 6 to 12 months. But this is not looking good right here. We may get a bounce. All right? I want to make sure that I'm very clear. It's not even that we are going to get a bounce. But the question is, when are we going to get the bounce? Is it right now? Or is it, when the price is around $2,100? Or is it when the price is around $1,300? Like, to me, that's $1 million question. All right. So if you go back to the last bear market, price of Ethereum goes from $4,800, down to 21, and then we get a rally from 21 up to $3,500. All right. And then we go from 35 down to $900. So if this was the last bear market and I was looking at the price of Ethereum, let's just say somewhere around, $3,500. I promise you, I would have looked at this basically $3,000 to $2,600, and I would have predicted at the time that we were probably going to get a rally. But guess what, guys? Price went down to $2,100, before we got this rally. So if I'm looking at Ethereum right now, to me, the $1 million question is, do we get the rally right here, or do we go a little lower and then get the rally? All right. To me, that is what I'm like, okay, should I bother spending time trying to predict when the rally is going to take place, or should I just stick with, the overall trend? And I think what's easier is, sticking with the overall trend. And when we do get a rally, just recognize and embrace the rally. But knowing that the rally will come to an end at some time in a very short period of time, because that's exactly what they do. All right. But this is not a good look in Ethereum. So my targets, to be very honest with you guys, is $1,300. But I'm giving about 6-12 months from now, because this is a long-term outlook. That is my target. And for me to even entertain the conversation of looking at Ethereum, I need to see something like this, where, once we do get these lower highs and lower lows on the weekly, all right, and I put my trend line, let's say we go like this, I need to make sure the price of Ethereum is on this other side of this yellow line. So, we may get something like this. Tick, 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 up. Here is where I say, okay, I'm interested in Ethereum again. But right now, I'm just not, guys. All right? I may become interested in the short term, maybe for a couple of days, because, the 1 hour setting up bullish, the 4 hour, setting up bullish. Like, I'll give you an example. Look, I was interested in Ethereum right here. I was very bullish on Ethereum, but I was expecting, or at least predicting, I think 36 was my prediction. We got to $3,400. I can't complain, guys. I've done my job. I've analyzed it. I thought $3,600, $3,700 was coming. But guess what? The market is the ultimate referee. We didn't get to 36. We didn't get to $3,700. What can I do? Move on. All right. But this is not a good looking market. The structure has been, look, the structure is broken. Right? I want to make sure that we're looking at this market together, guys. I don't want to be the only person that's looking at this market. I don't want to present to you, all right, inaccurate information. If I'm wrong on my analysis. But if I'm looking at this right here, going from this low right here, you connected to this low, it gives you a beautiful trend line. Look, at $3,600, that was broken. So this trend line right here is now a resistance. So what that means is that even if the price of Ethereum was to go all the way up to $4,000, we more likely will face a resistance. We more likely are going to get rejected, because that's exactly what a resistance does. All right. A resistance is meant to resist. We more likely get rejected, and then price, dumps after that. So this is not a market that I'm bullish on long term. Right now, when it looks like this, let's talk about other projects, right? Because it's too many of them, right? Plenty altcoins out there. I mean, they look like crap, man. Look, these are the blue chips right here. If the blue chips look like this, just imagine, the ones with a $2 billion market cap, a $3 billion market cap, $100 million market cap. Can you imagine what those altcoins look like? Let me show you AVAX. Or maybe some of these altcoins right here. Let me show you some of these guys right here, guys. XRP. Chat. I analyzed XRP yesterday. I want you to take a look at the chart of XRP on the monthly. What do you think happens to the price of XRP once we lose $1.62? All right. Once you lose $1.62, target, you're looking at this range right here. All right. You are looking at it, XRP, between 29 cents and 75. All right. I think we're going to retrace this entire monthly candle right here, guys. Remember when XRP went from 50 cents to $1.95? I think we're going to retrace this entire move right here. So that puts the price of XRP to 50 cents. Right? This is not a good looking chart right here. If you look at XRP, and let's say you put a trend line right here, go from these lows, connect it to these lows right here, gives us a nice uptrend. All right, right here, guys, around 260, whatever. The trend was lost. And because of that, this is a long-term downtrend. Now, we might get a rally again. Once again, a bear market rally, a relief rally. We are going to get one. Maybe we get one from $1.62, maybe up to around, let's just say 240 or 230, who knows? And then boom. If I bring my EMAs right here, all right, look, we haven't had a death cross. All right, we have not had a death cross. Pretty soon we are going to get a death cross, and then right after that, it's over, guys. Chat, give me a second. Chat, give me a second. I'll be right back. 1 minute. 1 minute, guys. So, anyways, going back to XRP, this is not a good looking chart. And it's not just XRP, guys. It's every single altcoin. Let's take a look at Aerodrome Finance. And I talked about most of these altcoins, these last couple weeks. Chat, Aerodrome Finance, I'm looking at 29 cents. All right, I'm looking at 29, and I don't think 29 cents is going to hold. I'm looking at a project that is about to go down to around 7 cents. I'm looking at it. Look, I am looking at an entire retracement of its bull market. This is how bad this is. If you go to the weekly and you put a trend line right here, all right, if you go from these lows right here, you connect it to these lows right here, guys, look, it gives you a beautiful trend line that looks like this. So if price continues to go down, we might get a rally and then we get rejected and then right here. All right, I'm looking at 7 cents. Once again, not right now, not next week, not next month. You got to be patient. All right, there is going to be rallies. There's going to be times, during these bear market rallies where, some of these altcoins may go up 100%, may go up 200%, but trust me, it won't be the beginning of a brand new bull market. It is just a bear market rally. If you look at this move right here, guys, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Look, this is a 400% move. But guess what? It was a bear market rally because the top was right here. Came back up again, a double top, guys. And this is our first lower high. All right, this is a project that's been in the bear market for the last couple months now. And you are going to see another move. Maybe not a 400% rally. You may get a 100%, 50%. It won't be the beginning of a new bull market. All right. Plenty of the entire altcoin market. Look, we already talked about others. We already talked about others, which is altcoins outside of outside of the top 10. All right. You have to accept the reality. You have to accept the reality. It is what it is. All right. This is not about I'm right, you're wrong. All right. You're missing something. The fundamentals are improving. This is not about that. This is about looking at the market, looking at technical analysis exactly as it is. And I'm telling you right now, this is not a market that you want to be bullish on long term. I don't care what your favorite influencers say. I don't care what type of chart they're looking at. We're looking at the same information. And what I'm showing you right now is that this is not looking good. Throughout this bull market, or maybe should I say throughout this bear market, I haven't spent a lot of time talking about death crosses. All right. But believe me, on the weekly time frame, you don't get many fake outs. This was a fake out. this is a real one right here. I'm telling you, this one is going to be sustainable. And you are going to see a continuation of, this bearish setup right here where the 21 weekly moving average is below the 50 for a very, very long period of time. And price at some point is going to come back and try to retest the 21 weekly moving average. And that is going to be the end of the rally. If we get above the 21 weekly, we may go to the 50. We don't normally go to the 50. These altcoins, we just don't normally go to the 50. All right. So that retest is going to be the end of, the weekly rally. And the weekly rally is the biggest one that I'm talking about. We are going to have one. All right. AVAX. Look, AVAX is dead. I've told you guys these last couple of weeks, hey, AVAX is going back to $8, basically the lows of the 2022 bear market. Take a look at AVAX, guys. All right. Remember when I say, these dev crosses, you don't normally get a bunch of fake outs on the weekly. This one was a fake out, all right, around August of 2024. This is not a fake out, guys. Look at the persistence of this right here. All right. Since getting this dev cross right here around March of 2025, all right, we had a, bear market rally. But guess what, guys? Look where the price is. Even though I've said that, we had this big move right here. Look at the price, guys. $11. If you jumped in right here and you didn't take profits, guess what? You down right now. All right. When we do get these rallies, when we do get this day cap bounce, and you are lucky to be in a position, it's not because you capture the lows of a new bull market. No, it's because you capture the lows of, a day cap bounce. And you want to make sure you exit as quickly as you can. Because otherwise, this is you right here, chat. So, I don't know how else to help you. Let's talk about XCN. XCN, terrible. XCN, guys, stay away from these altcoin. XCN, terrible. All right, don't. Chat, I'm telling you right now, don't touch it. I'm looking at XCN, and I'm looking at a project that is about to retrace its entire bull market. Look, I see a project that comes all the way down here. This is another 80%, if not 70% crash. 80%, guys. It won't be right now. Look, the problem with projects like XCN, even if you do get a rally, it's just something like this. Like, it's not... It's like... what is it? It's like a manipulation. All right, that's the problem with stuff like XCN. If you do get a rally, it might be a pop like this, where price goes from 007 all the way up to 1 cent, and this is almost like a 200% move. No, this is a 68% move. All right, I don't think with XCN you are going to see like a nice sustainable short-term price action. I think you get a bunch of moves like this. If you go back to the last bear market, that's exactly what we got, guys. If you go back to the last bear market, that's exactly what we got. Only one time we had some sort of a sustainable, day cap bounce, like where price was actually going up, for a few days. But other than that, you just get one of these little spikes where price, like out of nowhere, boom, you get a move, and then it retraces the entire move the same day or 2-3 days after. So to me, I don't like it. All right, I do not like XCN, not at all. And I've been bearish on this one for a very, very long time. Let's take a look at Kita. Okay, I can't even see this right here. Kita, okay, right here. I don't like it. Absolutely not, guys. All right, absolutely not. Okay, maybe Should we say these are the lows right here? All right. Personally, I wouldn't touch it. Chat, stay away from altcoins. I mean, honestly, I love you guys, and I care about you winning. This is not a time, man. Get away from these markets. Get out. Look, the only thing you should do right now is mark up monthly levels and track monthly performance for hold on, let me see. What is Dogecoin? So what you should do right now, I'll give you guys, this is a financial advice right here, guys. Don't buy anything. Just mark monthly levels and track performance. All right. So if I'm looking at Dogecoin, I am going to mark monthly levels. So my first target will be 8 cents. My second target will be 5. All right. And then just keep your eyes on Dogecoin and see what Dogecoin, see how it reacts, when we do get to 8 cents and when we do get to 5 cents. All right. You want to see the reaction. Dogecoin, bearish, 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 bearish. Just like any one of these altcoins. Now, we may get a move, and I actually do think we are due for one. We may get a day cap bounce right here up to retest the 21 weekly. Let's say we get one from right here, guys. That could be like a 40, 50% move. Maybe we don't get one right here. Maybe price waits until we're around 10 cents, and then we get a day cap bounce, up to retest around 16 cents. That's a 50, 60% move. But right after that, price comes down to these levels. All right, price comes down to these levels. Once again, it is not worth it. It is not worth it. Don't touch any of these altcoins because ultimately, guys, we're looking at another 70, 90% crash in the price between the next 6 to 12 months. All right, it is not worth it. So, chat, I mean, I don't know how else to help you guys. I really don't know how else to help you. I'm going to try to give you, similar updates over the next many months. All right, as long as this market is not looking great, I'll be here to guide you. And yeah, I mean, what else? What else is there to talk about? Nothing. So appreciate you guys, and I hope you enjoyed the live stream. Yo, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button.